ॐ सहना भवतु सहनौ भुनक्तु सह वीर्यं करवावहै तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहै। ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः। ॐ पूर्णमदः पूर्णमिदं पूर्णात् पूर्णमुदच्यते पूर्णस्य पूर्णमादाय पूर्णमेवावशिष्यते। ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः। श्रुतिस्मृतिपुराणानाम् आलयं करुणालयं नमामि भगवत्पाद शङ्करं लोकशङ्करं शङ्करं शङ्कराचार्यं केशवं बादरायणं सूत्रभाष्यकृतौ वन्दे भगवन्तौ पुनः पुनः। ईश्वरो गुरुरात्मेति मूर्तिभेदविभागिने व्योमवद्व्याप्तदेहाय दक्षिणामूर्तये नमः। गुकारस्त्वन्धकारश्च ऋकारस्तन्निवर्तकः कारनिरोधित्वात् गुरुरित्यभिधीयते। सदाशिवसमारम्भां शङ्कराचार्यमध्यमाम् अस्मदाचार्यपर्यन्तां वन्दे गुरुपरम्पराम्। During this week, we are going to discuss a section of the 18th chapter of Bhagavad Gītā. It is the concluding chapter. And in this chapter, Lord Krishna summarizes the entire teaching of Bhagavad Gītā. And as Shankaracharya explains, Lord Krishna even summarizes the teaching of the entire Vedas. Because Bhagavad Gītā is looked upon as the very essence of the Vedas, Upanishads primarily. So Bhagavad Gītā has in fact the Sarva Vedartha Sara Sangraha. It is the Sangraha, the accumulation of the essence of the entire Vedas. And as we know, Vedas primarily have these two subject matter. One is karma and other is jnanam. The action and knowledge are the two subject matters of Veda. Or rather than action, we should have dharma. Dharma and Brahma, these are the two subject matters of Veda. Veda is the scriptures, revealed scriptures, and they are pramana, the valid means of knowledge, for those subjects which cannot be comprehended by human intellect. And these are the two subjects. One is dharma. What is dharma? What is righteousness in life? It is something that a human being cannot determine merely by himself, although we can generally, but still, it is very difficult for us. Dharma means doing something which is right. What is called dharma and what is called adharma? Because that is an order obtaining the creation, and an action that is performed in keeping with that order would be called dharma. Because dharana dharma, that which upholds is called dharma. That which sustains, that which upholds is called dharma. It is very interesting that Bhagavad Gītā begins with the word dharma. In the very first verse of Dhritarashtra, dharma kshetre kurukshetre. So Dhritarashtra is asking this question of Sanjaya. What happened when in Kurukshetra, that is the battlefield, which is dharma kshetra, which is a kshetra or a field of dharma, of righteousness. What happened when my children and the Pandu's children assembled to fight? What happened? It's interesting how it begins with the word dharma. In a way, that is how, in giving us hinting what is going to be the subject matter of Bhagavad Gītā, dharma is the subject matter of Bhagavad Gītā. Twofold dharma. In fact, Gīta's subject matter is said to be Brahma Vidya and Yoga Shastra. So it is very interesting that even rather than using the word dharma, the word yoga is being used. See, at the end of every chapter, we recite what we call the Sankalpa Vakya, this Śrīmad Bhagavad Gītā su, Upanishatsu, Brahma Vidyayam, Yoga Shastre, Shri Krishna Arjuna Samvade, Bhagavad Gītā, which is of the nature of samvada or dialogue between Lord Krishna and Arjuna, and which the dialogue has these two primary subject matters, Brahma Vidya and Yoga Shastra, knowledge of Brahman and knowledge of Yoga. So what is called karma in the Vedas, or dharma in the Vedas, is called yoga in the Bhagavad Gītā. If dharma is properly done in our life, it becomes yoga. And so Vedas have these two primary subject matters, dharma, meaning an action that is performed in keeping with the obtaining order in the universe. Now, if our life becomes a translation of that order, if every action that we perform is done in accordance with that order, then that action will be dharma. However, it becomes very difficult to determine what that order is in a given situation. Because one who has the knowledge of the entire order alone can determine what the dharma or the right action would be. And therefore, Vedas become the pramanam, the means of knowledge, to reveal what that order is. Because Vedas are sarvajna, omniscient. One requires to be omniscient, all-knowing to understand what that order is. Because order is all-encompassing, and therefore, in order to determine what that order is, one should be omniscient. So, Vedas are scriptures that are revealed by God, who is omniscient, and therefore, the omniscience that God is alone becomes revealed in the Vedas. And therefore, Vedas tell us what to do in a given situation. What is the right action for a given person in a given situation. This is how dharma is revealed by the Vedas. So, in order to determine what is right for me, and that is how the life was divided, and we'll see in the 18th chapter also, into 4 stages, brahmacharya, grihastha, vanaprastha, sannyasa, the 4 stages of life, and what is proper for me to do in a given stage of life. All of this is revealed by the Vedas, and therefore dharma, righteousness, what is right for me to do, what is beneficial for me. What is beneficial for me for my inner development or spiritual development is called dharma. Well, Vedas also address this need of human being, which is what we call the material development, abhyudaya and nishreyasa. Abhyudaya means material prosperity. Nishreyasa means spiritual prosperity. So whereas Veda primarily prescribes dharma or spiritual prosperity for the human beings, Vedas do not overlook this need of the human being, that human being also has desire for material prosperity. Artha and kama, comfort and pleasure, is also what a human being desires. In the initial stage, when he is immature, this is what he desires. As he grows in maturity, his desires will change. But to begin with, his desires are for comfort and pleasure. And therefore, these desires also have to be addressed. We cannot demand that this comfort and pleasure are wrong thing to desire. Well, that's a desire. And therefore, accepting that as a desire, Vedas also prescribe what would be the proper way of fulfilling these desires. May the desires of artha and kama, comfort and pleasure also, may these desires be fulfilled in a righteous way, and therefore in the 4 purushartha, the dharma is placed first. Even though the initial impulse is artha or kama, I want security, I want to survive, I want to be safe and secure, that is my first need. And when I feel a sense of security, then I want sense gratification, I want pleasure, that becomes the second need. That's the artha and kama are recognized to be these initial needs of human being. However, if these needs are fulfilled in what we call dharma or righteous way, then this artha and kama can be enjoyed by the person. If on the other hand, in the process of acquiring this comfort and pleasure, if he sacrifices the righteousness, then the very artha kama will become a curse to him. It is not enough that we acquire prosperity. It is not enough that we have the means of enjoyment with us. It is necessary that we should have the capacity to enjoy them. So Vedas recognize that human being not only needs the means of enjoyment, but he also needs the capacity of enjoyment, and then that capacity has to be cultivated by following a certain way of life, which is called dharma. So dharma, artha, kama. So these become then the topics of what we call the first section of the Vedas. And finally, as a person lives life based on dharma or righteousness, he grows in his maturity, and slowly he becomes sensitive to his real need. That is a basic or fundamental need that human being has. It depends upon my sensitivity or understanding that need. When I am not a very mature person, I think that what I need is this comfort and pleasure. I think this is what I need. That is my interpretation of my need. As I grow in maturity, then I realize that is not what I really need. And thus, he recognizes that what I need is something more fundamental. I need that which is permanent or eternal, and therefore nothing impermanent can satisfy me. So if this recognition comes that what I am seeking in my life is something permanent, and whatever I can acquire is all going to be impermanent, and therefore anything that I acquire cannot satisfy the need that I have. If this maturity or this insight comes in life, then person then pursues something else. He pursues that which is permanent or eternal. And also recognizes that the means of attaining that is knowledge, and that's how from karma he comes to jnana. From activity he comes to what we call the pursuit of knowledge. So these two lifestyles are taught by Vedas. Pravrutti and nivrutti. A life of activity and a life of contemplation. In both of them, there must be dharma. Both in activity also dharma must be there. Of course in contemplation also dharma must be. Any kind of contemplation, not what Vedas mean. Because a physicist or, he's also a contemplative person. Everybody, there are many people who are contemplative. The scientists are contemplative, the writers and poets, and all these people are also contemplative artists. But what is important is what is subject matter of contemplation, that also becomes important. And therefore, Vedas then talk about a contemplative life, where the subject matter of contemplation is Brahma, is the ultimate reality. So dharma and Brahma. Because Brahma is other thing, that is something that we cannot comprehend by our intellect, which also is beyond the comprehension of individual effort of the human intellect, and therefore for Brahman also we have to resort to the scriptures. Shrutireva pramanam, or Shruti alone becomes our refuge. So dharma and Brahma, these are the two primary subject matters of Veda. And they are also the primary subject matters of Bhagavad Gītā. Although as we said, this dharma is called yoga in the Bhagavad Gītā, because Bhagavad Gītā does not address the needs of artha kama of a human being. Those needs of comfort and pleasures are not addressed by Bhagavad Gītā. Bhagavad Gītā primarily addresses the need of internal growth or spiritual growth of human being. Therefore, it is moksha shastra rather than dharma shastra. Bhagavad Gītā is moksha shastra rather than dharma shastra. It is shastra of the scripture which tells us, which instructs us as to how to fulfill the ultimate desire which is in our heart, and that is the desire for moksha. So, the desire behind all the desires. As we said, in the initial stages, a human being feels that what he or she needs is this comfort and pleasure. But in course of time, by living the life of dharma, living the life of righteousness, living the life of discipline, a person recognizes that really what he is seeking is something permanent, that which is ultimate. He is seeking freedom, unconditional freedom is what he is seeking, and thus he recognizes his need to be moksha. So, Bhagavad Gītā primarily addresses this need of the human being. It addresses then a person who has gained that kind of a maturity. At least maturity to recognize what he needs. He may not have maturity to get moksha, but at least there is a maturity of recognition as to what he needs. Arjuna is a person like that. We see that transformation taking place in Arjuna. Arjuna, when he enters the battlefield, right in the beginning of the first chapter, we see an Arjuna who is a warrior and was determined to fight this battle and win the battle. Because until then, he was a seeker of artha and kama, this comfort and pleasure. However, he was a man who was committed to dharma or righteousness. He was son of Pandu. The Pandavas are those who are committed to dharma, righteousness. And against that, the Kauravas are those who seem to be, for whom the end seems to be more important than the means. So Pandavas represent those people for whom the means is more important than the end. And Kauravas represent those people for whom the end is more important than the means. And therefore, the Pandavas led by Yudhishthira, they would be willing to live without the end, but make sure that the means are proper. Any proper means do not yield the desired end, they are willing to live with that. That means following life of dharma. If it doesn't give them the kingdom, they are willing to live with that. Doesn't give them the comfort, willing to live with that. If they are to live in the forest, they are willing to live with that. Don't think that following dharma is easy at all. The Indian scriptures, and I think scriptures of the world also will tell us how painful it is to follow the life of dharma. That's how Lord Rama in fact embodies dharma and shows nothing but suffering in his life. He did not suffer. We would suffer if we had to go through those situations. He did not suffer. That's a different matter. But he demonstrated what it takes to follow the life of dharma. Or let us say what one should be prepared for. Maybe you are lucky enough that following dharma you don't have to really suffer at all. It's quite possible. Some people are lucky. And therefore they get by without suffering. But the life of the Pandavas and life of Rama and life of many of the people whose stories we find in the Itihasa and Puranas, a lot of suffering is involved. A lot of what an ordinary person would call suffering. They themselves may not have called it suffering, but a lot of suffering. A lot of deprivation, apparently a lot of deprivation. To them it may not be deprivation. But then what we would call suffering, what we would call pain, what we would call deprivation, is what they had to go through in order to live what we call life of dharma, life of righteousness. So when the means are important, so that is called life of dharma, where the means is more important than the end. Dharma. And the Pandavas, Yudhishthira, the eldest of them, in fact represents this life of dharma. Anyway, so Arjuna was also committed to dharma. He was a dharmanishta person. But when he enters the battlefield, he is a person who still wants victory. He wants kingdom. He wants power and everything that goes with the kingdom. He wants that. And a transformation takes place in Arjuna. It doesn't matter what brings about the transformation. In case of Arjuna, it was his pain that brought about the transformation. It is his grief, pain very deeply felt in his heart. What triggered that pain was, of course, this particular topic or situation of the battlefield and the prospect of the death of all the near and dear ones. That is what triggered something in Arjuna. So whatever triggers that, for Gautam Buddha it may be something else. He just sees some person who is old and having disease and person who is dead, and that triggers something in him. But we can say that something triggered, all this situation in the battlefield triggered something in Arjuna, and he became sensitive to his most fundamental need. And thus he asked of Lord Krishna, Yash Shreyasyat Nishchitam Bruhitan Me Shishyasteham Shadhimam Tvam Prapannam. O Lord, whatever it is, that is decidedly good for me. Nishreyas means good. Nishchitam Shreya, decidedly good for me. Oh Lord, I have attained a lot of good in my life, but it has never been decidedly good. The good comes and goes away. Or whenever good comes, it also brings something bad with it, looks like. What I want is just good and decidedly good. So that which I can attain, what is decidedly good for me, please teach me that. I am your disciple, teach me. So that is how Arjuna became a jignasu, a seeker of knowledge. That this is what we mean by the second phase of life. Arjuna, that shows the tremendous maturity on the part of Arjuna. That he recognized that whatever difficulty he had or whatever pain he had can be now solved only by understanding something and not by achieving something. So far he was trying to deal with this pain by achieving things, hoping that when he becomes accomplished, gains achievement, that the pain will go away. When he found that the pain did not go away. Not only that, but all possible accomplishments which were in front of him, like the victory, like the kingdom, like the pleasures, that they will not be able to remove that pain. He himself says, Nahi prapashyami mamapanudya yachhokamuchoshanam indriyanam. So that indriyanam shokam, the grief that I am experiencing in my mind and the pain that I experience in my sense organs, I do not see anything that can remove that. Even if I attain the unrivaled kingdom of the earth, or I attain the kingdom of all the three worlds, Lord, I do not see how that pain which I feel in my sense organs, my whole being, that it can remove that pain. I do not see anything that can remove that pain. So this insight Arjuna had, that nothing that he can accomplish by his effort can deal with the pain or the grief that he had. And therefore, he became the seeker of knowledge. That is how the second section of the Vedas, namely the Upanishad, comes. Thus Upanishad does require a maturity. Bhagavad Gītā requires less maturity than Upanishad. Upanishads are primarily taught to those who have sadhana chatushtaya sampatti, viveka, vairagya, samadhi shatka sampatti, mumukshutvam. So one who has discrimination, one who has dispassion, one who has that internal composure as well as the focus, and one who has a strong desire for liberation, so he is ideally a adhikari or a fit student for Upanishad. Thank God that Bhagavad Gītā is not that demanding, otherwise it would not have been as popular as it is. Upanishads are great texts, but they will not become as popular as Bhagavad Gītā. Because Upanishad addresses a student who has that maturity, who has all that inner preparation, who is a contemplative person and who is ready to perform that inquiry into the fundamental reality of life. And therefore Upanishads confine themselves merely to the inquiry into the nature of reality, not the preparation of the person. There are hints now and then, but generally speaking, Upanishad confines itself to the inquiry into the nature of reality, which is what Vedanta is. So really Upanishads are Vedanta. Vedanta begins with only this inquiry. Tattva vivekah kaha. What's the nature of tattva vivekah? What's the nature of the discrimination or the inquiry into the tattva of the truth? But Bhagavad Gītā deals with the preparation as well. However, Bhagavad Gītā deals with the preparation for what we call still a mature person. One who is a mumukshu, one who wants liberation. One who has understood that it is knowledge that can give him that liberation. That maturity Arjuna has, and therefore Bhagavad Gītā addresses the aspirants or the seekers like Arjuna, who do not have sadhana chatushtaya sampatti, the samadhi shatka sampatti, meaning the tranquility of the mind, a total discipline at the level of sense organs, and a total concentration of mind, which are requirements, still he may not have, he doesn't have. But he does have the maturity, he does have the understanding that what I am seeking is the decidedly good, is moksha, and that knowledge is the means to gain that moksha. This maturity Arjuna has. Therefore, if we take this Bhagavad Gītā and every day want to talk about applying in our mundane life, and Artha Kama is what we want to accomplish through Bhagavad Gītā, becomes very difficult. So understand that Bhagavad Gītā primarily addresses a spiritual aspirant, one who understands the need of spiritual growth or inner growth, one who has sufficient vairagya or sufficient detachment from the worldly achievements or worldly accomplishments. So that's where we come to Bhagavad Gītā. So Shankaracharya says that Bhagavad Gītā is the essence of the teaching of the entire Veda. And the 18th chapter then is the summary of the entire Bhagavad Gītā also. So thus we find in the 18th chapter a summary of the entire teaching of the entire Bhagavad Gītā, and thereby also the summary of the teaching of the entire Veda. This is very important for Shankaracharya to say. It may not be so important for us perhaps, but it is very important for the traditional people to say this. Because as far as the people brought up in India are concerned, for them the Veda is the pramana. Veda is the ultimate means of knowledge. Vedas are the revealed scriptures. They are the source books. And any other books which are composed or written, they must conform to the vision of the Vedas. And then alone they gain the authority. This is what we discussed earlier. That Bhagavad Gītā gains also an authority because it deals with the same subject matter as the Vedas. Although the devotees of Bhagavad Gītā would think that Bhagavad Gītā is even greater than Vedas. Because look, the one who revealed the Vedas is a teacher of Bhagavad Gītā. So Vedas are revealed by the Lord and he himself is a teacher of Bhagavad Gītā. He is diverse, we are directly hearing, and therefore to some people Bhagavad Gītā may be even dearer than Vedas. However, texts like Bhagavad Gītā, they gain their validity or authority because they derive their subject matter from the Vedas. Therefore Shankaracharya says in more than one places that Bhagavad Gītā also is the essence of the teaching of the entire Veda. And the 18th chapter is the summary of the entire Bhagavad Gītā, which is what we find during this 18th chapter. Interestingly enough, the 18th chapter is called Moksha Sannyasa Yoga. So two subject matters of the 18th chapter, Moksha and Sannyasa. Moksha means liberation. Moksha means freedom. What kind of freedom? Unconditional freedom. Not just freedom, but then unconditional freedom. Freedom with no strings attached. That kind of freedom is called moksha. Freedom from the external world as well as freedom from my internal problems. So very often person feels deprived, person feels helpless, person, that I like to do something and I am not able to do. I want something and I do not have that. So a sense of helplessness is what a person is suffering from, and I feel that I am being persecuted by this world, or I feel that I am helpless in this world. So that is also a bondage. Freedom from even a sense of helplessness, freedom from a sense of deprivation. And very often then there is also another compulsion that is coming from within. That something within me compels me to do something that I may not want to do. I may want to sit quietly and something within me compels me to do something. Very often I want to sit for meditation and something within me tells me, no Swamiji. What happened to that book that was to be published? Do you realize that you have to finish that portion? Get up and do that, forget about meditation, and then my mind will compel me to get up, to give up what I am doing and do something else. And when I am writing and working on that book, then again something within me tells me, Swamiji, wait a minute, how about having a cup of tea, So, I think the mind is a bit tired. Let's have a cup of tea. All right, so have a cup of tea. I start doing something. Then again something within tells me, how about having a walk, for half an hour? So what I find is that there are two kinds of compulsion that I am suffering from today. One is compulsions coming from without me, where I find myself helpless because I cannot call all the shots. I cannot do what I want to do. I cannot avoid what I want to avoid. I am confronted with various situations which I don't care to confront. I want to avoid, I cannot avoid. And I have to do without many things that I would like to have. There are many things I would want in my life and I have to do without them. And there are many things that I don't care for having in my life and I am stuck with them. So this sense of helplessness one suffers from with reference to external world. And also a sense of helplessness one suffers from with reference to my own internal impulses, own internal compulsions. This compulsion is a word that I find in the political field also these days, compulsions. How come the Prime Minister of such and such country did this? Because of the internal compulsions. Because he is answerable to his people. Because he belongs to a given party. Because he belongs to a given religion. Because he belongs to this. Because he has this kind of supporters. He must keep these people happy. He should make these people also, in good humor. He must make sure that those people do not get, turned off from him. All these kind of balances, to keep, and therefore you can hardly do what you want to do. Because I am so dependent. I am so dependent upon the world for my security that I must keep the world in good humor, otherwise I won't be secure. I am so dependent upon the people around me for my well-being that I must always make sure that they are happy with me. And therefore many things that I would like to do internally, but then I stay away from doing that because I know I don't want to displease this person. Many things that I do not care to do, but I still do because I want to please that person. And this is how lots of compulsions coming from a sense of helplessness because I cannot control. Somebody was asking me, Swamiji, why do people have a tendency to control other people? This is it. Because I feel so helpless and so wretched that I feel when I control, when I can call shots, then I feel that I'm all right. I feel that I'm strong enough or I'm all right if I can control others. And therefore, this helplessness, this is what we call bondage. This helplessness with reference to external world, helplessness with reference to my own impulses, this is what we call bondage or lack of freedom. And that is all I want. Nobody is interested in any powers. People have wrong ideas about what we want. People think that there are all kinds of powers. Not only do you have the material power, there are spiritual powers also. And people can control with their spiritual powers as well, and then you can threaten. If you displease me, then I'll curse you, You'll go to hell and this will happen to you. And you can always control people in different ways. Anyway, and so the need to exercise power, need to control others also shows nothing but my internal insecurity. So this insecurity, this helplessness, this sense of being persecuted, this is what we call bondage. And moksha means freedom from all of this. And this is all that we want. We don't want anything else. It is not necessary that I need a lot of wealth and I need a lot of power, I need a lot of name and fame. I think that I need, but really through all of them what I am seeking is just this state of my mind that I am free. That I am free from compulsion. I am free from helplessness. I am free from insecurity. I do not want to depend upon anybody else to be secure or comfortable. So this is called moksha. As simple as this. Therefore, when Lord Krishna describes a wise person or a person who is liberated, description is always in this sense, description is never with reference to what he possesses. Vitaraga bhaya krodha siddhi muni uchyate. Vitaraga bhaya krodha, the person is free from raga, bhaya and krodha. He is free from passions, he is free from fear, he is free from anger. That's all. So these are all the internal problems that one has, and that is why I am not free. It is my anger that dictates me, it is my fear that dictates me, it is my attachment that dictates me, and therefore I am being dictated by them. Dukkheshu anudvignamanaha sukheshu vigataspruha. When he meets with a situation that can be called unfavorable, then also he maintains the composure of the mind. When he confronts a situation which is very favorable, then also he doesn't crave for having it. Free from any kind of retaliation, free from craving, free from the need to protect himself, free from a sense of insecurity. This is the freedom that is described in Bhagavad Gītā. Samadukha sukha swastha samaloshtasmakanchana tulya priya priyodhira tulya nindatma samstatihi. Somebody who likes him, somebody who dislikes him, somebody who praises him, somebody who censures him, somebody who honors him, somebody who dishonors him. He confronts with all these people. Samaha. he is equal to all of them. So he is even-minded or sameness of the mind to all of them. So this is how moksha is described in the Bhagavad Gītā. Sarva karmani manasa sanyasyaste sukham vashi navadvare puredehi naiva kurvan nakarayan. He lives happily in his body, which is his city. In the city of 9 gates, he lives very happily. Naiva kurvan nakarayan. Not doing anything, not compelling anybody else to do anything. Sukhamaste, he lives happily. So this in very simple terms, we find that the moksha is described in very simple terms in the Bhagavad Gītā. It's a very simple thing. Otherwise, elsewhere it is so complicated. You always imagine moksha as something arising from bottom and going up to the top. It's something happening. Or from my crown of the head, 1,000 petal lotus is there, and from there the shower of bliss is coming down or something. Or that I am endowed with variety of powers that I can control your mind, I can read what's happening in your mind, I can control you sitting here. Or I go to a very special place where, there are different kinds of pleasures or whatever. So in these terms, the moksha is described in many places. Everywhere. In everywhere other than Vedanta, moksha is always described in this some or the other way. That way I think Vedanta is the simplest thing in life. There is nothing simpler than Vedanta. Because truth happens to be very simple. Moksha happens to be very simple. And moksha happens to my own self. And I am a very simple person. Because of ignorance, I have just complicated myself, become a very complex person. But I really happen to be a very simple person. And therefore, that is where the happiness is, in being simple. So simplicity is what Bhagavad Gītā teaches us. That's it. Simplicity is taught in the name of renunciation and stuff like that. What is renunciation? Just being a simple person. So this is how Bhagavad Gītā describes moksha. And this is something that is achievable everybody. If you think moksha is attaining certain powers or climbing Everest, then I don't know whether I can do it or not. If moksha means going to some place like heavens or Brahmaloka, I don't know that I can do it. If moksha is described in terms other than myself, then I can never be sure that I can achieve that. But here, moksha is described in my own, in terms of myself. And therefore, it becomes achievable. We can say that this moksha or liberation is the fundamental right of every human being, because every human being is capable of achieving this. Because it is achievement of what is already achieved. It is not achievement of what is not achieved. Had it been achievement of something unachieved, you can never be sure whether you can achieve or not, because then it requires qualification. See, whenever you want to achieve something that you don't have, you require a qualification to achieve that. You must be Brahmana, Kshatriya, this, and so forth. Women cannot do this, children cannot do this, men cannot do this fellow cannot do this, Shudra cannot do this, whatever it is. When it comes to moksha, everybody is fine. Because everybody's nature happens. You see, then the only qualification is that I am already liberated. And it is to be recognized. So understand that there is no adhikaritvam, there is no qualification when it comes to Vedanta. Vedantists do talk of qualification, not in terms of birth, not in terms of sex, not in any other terms. They talk of adhikaritvam, the fitness, in terms of only the preparation of mind or maturity of mind. And so, thus this moksha, liberation, is we call unconditional freedom. Freedom from anything external to me and freedom from what is within me, a total comfort. Put it this way, I am comfortable. With the world outside me, I am comfortable. With myself, just a sense of comfort, a total comfort. That is the moksha, liberation. That is samadhi. What else is it? What they call samadhi, or the absorption is what? When all discomfort has gone away, that's all. When I am totally comfortable with myself and with things around me, then there is no reaction from me. There is no distraction in my mind, therefore the mind is completely dissolved. So even though the yogas may talk about samadhi through many means like pranayama, etc., the Vedantin, for him, samadhi is to remove whatever obstacles are there that are making me uncomfortable, and thus a state of total comfort. A total comfort with the world around me and a total comfort with myself. This is moksha. And this is the primary theme of Bhagavad Gītā, because this is what a human being is primarily seeking. And therefore, Bhagavad Gita addresses this primary need of the human being. Knowing that unless this primary need is satisfied, that he is not really satisfied with anything else. However, Bhagavad Gita also recognizes that in order to gain this moksha, some preparation, what we call emotional maturity, is required. And therefore, Bhagavad Gita also prescribes the means of that emotional maturity. This is called Yoga Shastra. Or it is called Sannyasa also. So this is Moksha Sannyasa Yoga. See, this word yoga could also be said to be sannyasa. Either we can say that Bhagavad Gita teaches us yoga, or we can say Bhagavad Gita teaches us sannyasa. As we'll discuss, that all along what Bhagavad Gita teaches us is sannyasa. Sannyasa means renunciation. So this chapter is Moksha Sannyasa Yoga. Well, moksha is the end, sannyasa is the means. Well, you can do sannyasa also is an end. As we'll see, sannyasa is of two types. Sannyasa is an end and sannyasa is a means. So then moksha and sannyasa are not different. If sannyasa is the end, then moksha and sannyasa are not different. Because the ideal sannyasa is described as a liberated person. And I just quoted that verse. Navadvare puredehi naiva kurvan nakarayan sarva karmani manasa sannyasya. Renouncing all the actions by knowledge, he just lives happily with himself and with the world. Naiva kurvan nakarayan. Not doing anything, because he doesn't see the need to do anything. He doesn't need to change anything. Why do we want to do something? Because there is need to change. If I am not comfortable with a given situation, I need to change it so that I become comfortable. If I am not comfortable with the way things around me are, then I want to change them so that I become comfortable. Or if I am not comfortable with the way I am, then there is a need to change so that I become comfortable. But suppose I am comfortable with the way things are around me and comfortable with the way things are with me, then what? Swami, what happens if you are hungry? Suppose I am comfortable with that. What if you are thirsty? I am comfortable with that. What if you have a headache? I am comfortable with that. What if there is heat outside? Comfortable with that. With heat and cold and honor and dishonor and pleasure and pain, whatever be the situation, suppose I am comfortable. Understand that discomfort is an emotional problem, It's not a physical problem, it's an emotional problem. I'm uncomfortable with something when it does not fulfill my demands, that's all. I'm a demanding person, and therefore, when somebody or something fulfills my demands, I'm happy. When they don't fulfill my demand, I'm unhappy. So suppose I'm free from demands. When can I be free from demands? When I'm not demanding. Because whatever I'm demanding, I already have. And what is it that I already have? Myself. I already have myself, and when that fulfills all my demands, then I become a non-demanding person. Atmaneva atmana tushtaha. One who is satisfied with himself by himself. Prajahati yada kaman sarvan partha manogatan. And therefore one who has become free from all the demands. So Bhagavad Gita says he is free from all the desires. We can translate that word kama into demands. He is free from all the demands. So freedom from demand is another definition of moksha. He is just free from all the demands. And when there is no demand, naiva kurvan nakarayan. No need to do anything, nor any need to make someone else do something. Sometimes I do not do something, but I, make other people do something. That also can happen. I never go out for bhiksha. Bhiksha comes to me. The same thing, It is, at least I make known to the people that, when it is 12:30, the bhiksha must be here. When it is 8:30 in the morning, breakfast must be here. 6:30 in the evening, dinner must be there. I don't demand, but everybody knows. And therefore, I may not do something, but I make other people do to fulfill my demands. So understand that when I do something, or when I prompt others to do something, basically it is to fulfill one or the other demands that I have. So imagine a person, or imagine yourself, you are totally free from any demand. Imagine that you are comfortable with the way things. There is pain in my knees, doesn't matter. Swamiji, I do not know what the tomorrow's meal will be from. Doesn't matter. Suppose nothing matters to you, or suppose everything is fine as it is. Then mind becomes totally non-demanding, because it is comfortable or happy with everything as it is, then that is called liberation. So that moksha also is sannyasa. What is sannyasa? A total freedom from demands, a total freedom from need to possess, a total freedom from need to control. That is the, because through every action also I am trying to control something. Really, when I perform an action, I am always manipulating something to control or bring about something to become agreeable to me or favorable to me, and thus a freedom from every kind of a need. This is the moksha as well as sannyasa. So this is the, you can call moksha or sannyasa. Both of these are really the subject matter of Bhagavad Gītā. So 18th chapter is called moksha sannyasa yoga. Moksha, which is of the nature of sannyasa. How we say that sannyasa is of two types. Sannyasa is the end and sannyasa is the means. And therefore in the 18th chapter we also find discussion of both sannyasa as a means and sannyasa as an end. So we can say that whereas Bhagavad Gītā teaches us how to attain moksha, Bhagavad Gītā teaches us the sannyasa as a means to attain the moksha. And so moksha and the sannyasa are the subject matters of Bhagavad Gītā. They are the subject matters of the 18th chapter of the Gita also. So let us read the first verse here in your chem booklet. It opens with this question of Arjuna. Arjuna uvacha sannyasasya mahabāho tattvamicchāmi veditum tyagasya ca rushikesha pruthakeshi nishudana. Arjuna uvacha, Arjuna said. So Arjuna asked a very relevant question, knowing what Lord Krishna has taught him so far. And therefore he says, Hey Mahabāho, O mighty arm Lord, sannyasasya tattvam vedam ichchami. I desire to know the tattvam, the very truth of sannyasa. So he wants clarification. In short, he wants, I guess, the Lord to summarize, He wants the Lord to summarize the very theme that the Lord has been teaching, and that is sannyasa. Therefore, O Lord, I want to know the truth of sannyasa. Tyagasya ca rushikesha pruthakeshi nishudana. And also I want to know the truth of tyaga. Tyaga means renunciation also. Really, sannyasa and tyaga are not really different. However, Lord Krishna has used both these words in the Bhagavad Gītā, as we shall see, sannyasa as well as tyaga. Both these words are used. Both the words actually mean only renunciation. But therefore, Arjuna wants to know the tattvam. Tattvam means the very truth or the very essence of the truth. He wants to get now, he wants to get a clarification. So he's already listened to sannyasa and tyaga in all these chapters, but he just wants to get a clarity about this, because Lord Krishna has talked about sannyasa in many places, has talked about tyaga also in many places. So Arjuna seeks to know now in a very clear way. So what has been stated in many places, please tell me the essence of sannyasa and tyaga so as to get a total clarity in my mind. He understands, but he wants to get a total clarity. And in so doing, he addresses Lord Krishna. He has three names for Lord Krishna. Mahabāho, Rushikesha, Keshi Nishudana. Just out of a tremendous love for Lord Krishna, I guess, so he uses not one, not two, but three names for Lord Krishna. Mahabāho, the mighty armed one. That shows the might of Lord Krishna. What do you use your arms for? For protection. Usually a person uses his arms represent the strength. And the strength is only used for protection. But Lord Krishna's strength is used for protection of others. Particular protection of the devotees. And Arjuna is of course a devotee of Lord Krishna, because Lord Krishna himself acknowledged that in the 4th chapter, Bhakto Sime Sakha Chedi Rahasyam Hetuduttamam. Hey Arjuna, you are my friend and you are my devotee. That's the reason why I have told you this greatest of secrets. And so Lord Krishna is addressed as mighty armed one, because his might is used for protecting the devotees, reminding Lord Krishna or invoking that aspect from the Lord that I am your devotee and I am seeking your protection. Other is Keshi Nishudana, the slayer of a demon called Keshi. Keshi was a demon. Like many who came, to kill Lord Krishna, many emissaries or many of these fellows were sent by Kamsa, his maternal uncle, to kill Lord Krishna. One of them was this demon called Keshi. This demon came in the form of a horse. And he wanted to swallow this little Lord Krishna. And so what did Lord Krishna do is, the horse opened his mouth and Lord placed his left hand in his mouth. Except that the hand then started growing and it filled up the whole mouth, and therefore he made his mouth even larger, wider, and the hand became, bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger until the horse was, he was torn apart. This is the story of this slaying or killing this demon Keshi. Some people say, what is this Swami? Is Lord Krishna killing these people one after the other? But as you say, he is karma phaladata. He is the dispenser of the result of action. And these people were destined, otherwise all these demons were destined to die in this manner. And also they were fortunate enough to come to Lord Krishna and be killed by at his hands, and so that they'll be liberated anyway. So in fact, he always blessed them, he never killed anybody. Lord Krishna cannot kill anybody, because Krishna means the one that attracts everything. And Krishna therefore is an embodiment of nothing but joy as well as love, and he cannot kill anybody. So we just look upon all this killing of the demons as what happens when there is total love. How in the very presence of total love, everything gets dissolved, and therefore all these demoniac tendencies also which come up one after the other. In the presence of love, all of them get completely dispelled. So this is how the meaning of these incidents is to be looked at. But anyway, so that also shows his might. So Mahabaho and Keshi Nishudana, these two addresses of Lord Krishna shows this capability of removing all external obstacles that can come. So a person is subject to external problems as well as internal problems. I may be attacked, or I may be, I may be threatened by things external to me, and there also I need the protection of the Lord. And so Arjuna is in fact seeking that protection by addressing Lord Krishna as Mahabahu and Keshi Nishudana, that, O Lord, you are the one who is capable of warding off all the external obstacles that can come. And then there are internal obstacles also. As you said, all these kind of impulses, such as anger and lust and greed and jealousy and all of these also are internal demons. They are the internal demoniac tendencies, and we need protection of Lord there as well. And with reference to that, Arjuna addresses Lord Krishna as Rishikesha. Rishikanam, Indriyanam, Ishaha, Rishikesha. Rishika means Indriya, the sense organs. So Lord Krishna is addressed here as the one who is the Lord of sense organs. Who is the Lord of the sense organs? As the very self. As the very self who dwells in the hearts of all the living beings, he is the one who controls all the mind as well as controls the sense organs. Therefore, O Rishikesha, O indwelling spirit O indwelling self of all the beings, the one who is the controller of all my sense organs and all the various impulses of the mind, please also protect me from the inner obstacles. So Mahabaho and Keshi Nishudana. So these are that show the might of the Lord to ward off all the external obstacles, and Rishikesha, the one who is the impeller of the sense organs, one who is the one who enlivens the sense organs. So he is the master of the inner organs, and therefore please ward off all the internal obstacles as well. So thus, the kind of name that you use also is to invoke a certain aspect that you want at this time. And this is what Arjuna wants. O Lord, please teach me again, very pruthak, So Tattvam, I want to know, I have heard from you, no question about it, but I still want you to summarize for me. And in clear terms, you said it in many places, but I want just a very clear enunciation of what is meant by sannyasa, and I also want a clear enunciation of what is meant by tyaga. Please tell me, is sannyasa and tyaga, so sannyasa also means renunciation, tyaga also means renunciation, are these two different kinds of renunciations, or both these words mean essentially the same? Is there some difference between the two words? So two questions are asked by Arjuna. The one, that sannyasa and tyaga, do they have different meanings? Sannyasa means renunciation, tyaga also means renunciation, but then do sannyasa and tyaga, do they have different meanings? That's one question. Please tell me that. Suppose you say that no, Arjuna, really they are not two different things, they are basically one thing only, alright. Suppose sannyasa and tyaga is one alone, then tattvam ichchami veditum. Please tell me the very tattva. Please tell me the very truth or essence of what is renunciation. Because Arjuna recognizes that what Lord Krishna has taught so far is renunciation. And therefore, he just wants again a summary from Lord Krishna as to what the sannyasa or renunciation is. So this is how 18th chapter opens with this request on the part of Arjuna to explaining the truth or the essence of sannyasa or renunciation. And Lord Krishna gets an opportunity to summarize and in very clear terms, what is the meaning of this sannyasa and tyaga. Okay, we'll continue. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vashishyate Om Shanti 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 Shankaram Shankaracharyam Keshavam Vadarayanam Sutra Bhashya Krutau Vande Bhagavantau Punah Punah Ishvaro Gururatmegi Murti Bheda Vibhagine Vyomavadvyapta Dehaya Dakshinamurtaye Namaha. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Hari Om. Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Hari Om.